Right, this is Concorde Bravo Bravo Delta Golf, number 3 of the British fleet. As I said, it never went into service. She was already designed, a test and a true training flight. When all the Concordes finished flying on the 26th of November 2003, see the date last year, British Airways decided not to hide all their Concordes away, but to go and let you happen to see them all. So for your geography today, we have the last ever Concorde to fly is at Filton in Bristol. The first one ever to fly is at Yeomanton in Somerset. One very forlorn that's got nothing in it, we nicked it all, is at Heathrow Airport near Terminal 5. The best one of all is where?
Here.
Here, thank you. You've got one at Duxford, one at Manchester, one at East Fortune. Now the other three, one is in New York on a pontoon next door to an aircraft carrier. One is in Seattle in Boeing's museum, and ladies, the one for Windsor. We take all the engine housings down. Here, there's the joy, which all that part was built here, all the tail section, and just by the nose wheel, all the front section, again, is joined, that was built here, we took that off. So that still left us an area 160 feet long, and wider than the 245 or the motorways. So this is what we did. Would you like to come over? If you look above my head here, you'll see there's a black line. If you follow it down, it goes through, past the undercarriage and off the wing. A very nasty man came along with a big electric saw, and we sawed the wings off. And these are the joints you can see up here that we designed here and put them back together again. That also happened to Concorde Alpha, which is in Scotland, which we broke up in sections, placed onto a barge, floated down the Thames, up the North Sea, into Scotland, and then we rebuilt that one there. Behind you is a little propeller. That flies Concorde. If you have an electric or hydraulic problem with the engines, that shoots down into that position, spins up, and gives you enough power to start engine number 1. Now above you, there are 17 fuel tanks. Total amount of fuel in those tanks is 28,000 gallons. Now I tell you the fuel rate on Concorde is 5,840 gallons per hour on standard flight. We want to take off or we want to go supersonic, we need 20% more power, and to do that we light the back of the engines with afterburners, but the fuel rate goes up to 140 gallons per minute per engine. So it's 1,000 gallons to just push you through the sound barrier. Now we're going to go upstairs to go through which we hoped was the Concorde door. Unfortunately it's been damaged, so we've got a special way in. Remember, keep your heads down until we get to the windows. Okay?
Okay.
Right, you just like to make a little tunnel down the middle and look back to me. We can take a bit on.
Thank you.
This is one of 2 Concordes where you can get in at the back and get out at the front. Normally here is the rear galley, and then there's a bulkhead here. Now, do you ladies fly heavy or light? That's the total luggage area for 100 people. Oh look! That's from here back.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately the rear door is broken, and my engineers have made a temporary one there in their back gardens.
Can I say,
Yeah.
I saw this aircraft fly many times because I'm
Yeah.
an aviation
Right.
enthusiast. I never ever thought about where they put the baggage. It never occurred to me.
That's it.
Yeah. They put it at the back.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. No, what's underneath you? Fuel
Yeah,
tanks.
Fuel tank. I never thought about where they put the baggage in all these years. You're the first person.
Well, there is another small one at the front, but that was mostly where all the crew put their stuff.
Okay.
Right.
So obviously there was a limit on that baggage.
20 kilos.
20 kilos.
Yeah.
Okay.
So where I'm standing here, to that curtain would have been 60 passengers, and through the curtain there's another 40. It's all one class. It's not super class. Sorry, it's not first class. It's super class. Because we're the only aircraft in the world where you can do that. Now, Concorde gets very hot when it's in the air with the word friction. You know how to do friction, young man? Nice and warm?
Yes.
Well, the temperature on that nose, when you get up and have a look, is 127 degrees centigrade. The temperature on these windows get to 94 degrees centigrade hot. If you look very carefully, and you can see them on this one, can you see there's a little brown tube running through the windows? There we go. You got that one there? The temperature in that tube is -50. So it keeps the aircraft cool. You can sit in here and have your champagne and caviar and your 6-course meals. Now, when she does that, Concorde does something no other airliner in the world does. She grows and shrinks 9 inches every flight. Right up the front where the co-pilots are, there's a bulkhead, and in front of your eyes, you can't see it here, but you can see it do this in front of your eyes. Stretch. The aircraft stretches 5 inches in that area and close back again. On some of the last flights, the captains took their caps off and put it in the hole there, and you could never get it apart. Okay? So, what's going to happen now, you can come in and have a look at the displays here, but in a minute, all the televisions you can see that are working will all go blank.
Okay.
And then you can choose whichever one you want to, and it will tell the history of this aeroplane, how we found her, the condition we found her, and how we got her here. Alright? Okay. If you came down the A246 today, down the main road, that's where it all had to come.
Wow.
And someone put a notice up right at the roundabout at the top, and it says Concorde Landing. And there we are. That's a cheaper version. I've got the bigger one.
Yeah, I also have the bigger one.
Lego?
Yes, the Lego one.
Have you done it?
Yes, I got it for my birthday and I finished it on the same day.
I bet you haven't got one. I bought it.
What?
Yes, the time and loan up the top here, this is all about the Concorde fleet. And then this one is all about this aeroplane, all the different times and dates of it.
I mean, because they had a. I mean, BA didn't really know what to do with them, did they? At the beginning, they had one to Singapore Airlines, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yes.
And
that lasted 2 months.
2 months.
The reason is they hadn't realised that the indigenous people that lived down into Singapore, when Concorde's supersonic boom happened,
yes,
they thought the Earth was finishing, so we had to stop doing it.
I see.
But we did still fly into Singapore,
yeah,
because we did a round the world trip. Right, the video is just about to start. There's one there, there's one here, and there's one beside you. So there we are. You can have this one all over. Here, I'll come out the way.
The Brooklands Concorde was the first British production Concorde, the third built in the UK. Golf Bravo Bravo Delta Golf, or Delta Golf as she's affectionately known, opened the door for Concorde to enter passenger service. Like every other Concorde, over 30% of Delta Golf's airframe was built here at Brooklands before being shipped to Filton for final assembly. In the hands of test pilots Brian Trubshaw and Peter Baker, Delta Golf first took to the sky on February the 13th, 1974, at the start of a test programme that would lead to Concorde's airworthiness certification. The first flight, which lasted 1 hour and 45 minutes, saw the aircraft fly from Filton to the Concorde test base at Fairford to join Concorde 002 and Concorde 01 in the British flight test programme.
Just watch the back of this landing. He said he didn't touch.
Globe, such as Singapore, Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates, during a flight test programme that lasted more than 7 years. She was the first Concorde to carry 100 passengers at twice the speed of sound. Delta Golf was used by British Airways crews for training in the summer of 1975. Over 50 training flights were conducted out of Fairford before passenger services commenced the following year. The aircraft's final flight came on Christmas Eve 1981, after which she was put into long-term storage at Filton. British Airways acquired ownership of Delta Golf in 1984 and in 2003 offered it to Brooklands Museum for restoration and display.
What?
Inside and out, the aircraft had been stripped of just about every conceivable part. But with BA's enormous Concorde spares holding, it was hoped that most parts could be found and eventually refitted. The aircraft was repositioned to allow it to be divided into 5 major sections, after smaller items such as the intakes and wingtips had been removed and transported to Brooklands. The Brooklands built forward and aft fuselage sections were the first major pieces to arrive at the museum in May 2004. A few weeks later, the 2 main wing sections were separated from the fuselage and transported the 125 miles to the museum. The final piece to be moved was the central fuselage section of Concorde, on which the restoration would be based. It was transported along the M4 and arrived safely at Brooklands after journeying down the leafy Surrey roads towards the museum. Hundreds of museum supporters, as well as His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent, were present to greet Concorde and see her being unloaded. Although it would be many months before structural rebuilding got underway, the volunteer team set to work restoring key parts of the aircraft, such as the droop nose and intakes, as well as beginning to remove 20 years of grime from the fuselage and wings ahead of repainting.
All done with volunteer workers.
The museum's contractors for the rebuilding started work in early 2005. The first task was to reposition the 5 main sections so that they could be reattached. When the aircraft was sectioned, new production joints were essentially formed. Aluminium channel sections were used to rejoin both the wings and fuselage. Alongside the structural work, the main volunteer effort got underway to repaint the aircraft. The surface was prepared before being painted with the trademark Concorde gloss white finish.
4-inch rollers.
After the forward fuselage had been rejoined, volunteers refitted Concorde's famous droop nose. With the structural rebuild nearly complete, Concorde was airbagged to full height to allow the landing gears to be fitted, the first time in nearly 20 years that the aircraft had rested on its own undercarriage. A volunteer team refitted the outer wingtips in late 2005, painstakingly installing over 600 bolts to hold them in place.
Each side.
With work underway to restore the interiors and cockpit, the volunteer effort in 2006 began with refitting the restored air intakes and rebuilding the engine bays. Special teams were formed to repaint and then fit the giant Brooklands-built tail fin, which was fitted in the summer of 2006, topping out the main rebuilding programme. Due largely to the efforts of an army of dedicated volunteers, sponsors and contributors to the museum's appeal fund, a Concorde with an uncertain future at the start of the millennium had been saved for future generations.
Jolly good. Right, 1969.
Yeah.
And I've been but my actual job was W.H. Smith's.
Oh, okay.
Heathrow Airport.
Okay.
Right. So if we like to just come back a bit, and if you like to come over that side so we can talk about this aeroplane.
Yes, it's the one we're in right now.
That is right, it's this one. Now this is where we did the hot air trials, and the temperature on that day was plus 55 degrees centigrade. Now where my daughter lives is reverse, because on Christmas Day this year, we didn't go there this year, the temperature was minus 48, Fairbanks, Alaska. And you would love to see what my grandchildren had for Christmas presents. 4 baby huskies. They have 148 huskies. You can't use cars. They just freeze solid. 148 dogs.
148?
And now it is 4 months of total darkness and 4 months total daylight. Now when we were last there 3 years ago in June, the temperature at midnight was 40 degrees. Hot. Do you know what the kids did?
What?
Left the gate open to the swimming pool and let the dogs in. And we were in the pool at the same time. Yes! There we are. So we're going to go forward now. Now if you've got any handbags, carry bags, shoulder bags... Supersonically, we had these horrible cloth seats. Then we moved up into the 70s here. Then I've got the 1980s behind me. And then right at the back there, those lovely plush double leather hide seats are the years 2000. And that's the ones we're all looking at. I daren't buy them. Okay, now if you look here on the crockery, you'll see round the edges of the crockery there are little Concordes with their noses down. We had to just stop using those after 20 flights. Why? There were more missing than there was on the plane. They are collector's items. There's one item that isn't there, which we've just found 3, which is like a little butter dish. £1,000 for a butter dish. Cup and saucer, 250 quid, and that's Concorde memorabilia. Right, now when we go to get to seat, I suggest, Mum, if you... Well done.
Oh, yeah.
Right, as many still pictures you like. No.
Wow, here's the shot of this.